Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Welcome back to Better Living. Today, I'm here with Barbie Tucker. She is an independent registered dietitian. And today we have another great show in store. We're going to discuss all kinds of ways we can help you live better through diet, exercise, medical nutrition therapy. And we're going to discuss nutraceuticals and the state-of-the-art biophotonic scanner that was recently featured on Dr. Oz. Did I get that right, Barbie?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
As you know, Better Living is all about educating and empowering folks to live a better life. So I have so many questions already before we even get into it. But first, why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience who you are, how you got into this, what your background is, and where you're located.
Okay, I'm in Woodstock, Georgia, but I can serve people electronically, whether that's via Skype, email, telephone. So you don't necessarily have to be physically available to me because education works just as we're doing on the radio today. People are getting education. I've been a registered dietitian for over 17 years. I was actually a dietitian in the United States Air Force. I retired from the Air Force in 2009, moved back to my hometown of Woodstock, Georgia, where I graduated Etowah High School. Hello, class of 1984. And my kind of stumbled into it a little bit. I've always been physically active, cheerleading, gymnastics, and joining the military, and kind of felt a natural fit. And there was an internship through the Air Force to be a registered dietitian, and I really enjoyed crossing over. I started out in civil engineering. And
wow.
I guess I tested good enough on the math side. And then I crossed over and worked in the hospital the rest of my career, and I served health and wellness centers and led physical fitness training. And my master's degree is in exercise science as well. So the two together, exercise and nutrition, go hand in hand.
So let's talk a little bit about your work in the Air Force, because, you know, these folks have to pass physical fitness tests.
Correct.
So they go on their deployments and then they come off and they're off for a little while and then they're going back, right? And they have to still meet the same standards.
Right.
And if they don't, bam, you better hurry up, right? So how long do they have to get themselves in shape and back to where they need to be to get deployed?
Well, actually, the military requires you staying in shape all the time, not just for deployment, because we don't know when we're going to need deployment. So it's part of readiness, means you're in a position to go at all times. So it's stateside and in deployment field. So you have a test that you have to do every year. You have to pass a running test. Now they've added sit-ups and push-ups to look at the muscle strength. So this is a part of conditioning, but it's also a part of anti-aging. The more physically active you are, what I've told people for years is you can either speed up the aging process by not exercising, by not taking care of yourself, by smoking, etc., or you can slow down the aging process by protecting yourself from the sun, for example, eating the right nutrition, getting the sleep that your body needs, and maintaining your muscle strength as you get older. Yes, it's a natural part of aging that we lose it, but you have a choice at what rate that you lose it.
That's interesting. And doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but it's actually pretty good. I mean, you can get into a routine of eating well, and then when you miss exercise, your brain feels it. It becomes addictive.
Well, for example, Alzheimer's is a concern, especially all of us as we're aging. And blood flow to the brain really plays a role in affecting that. Also memory games, etc. But so the fun part is simply enjoying life. So dancing, for example, can be very fun, and it's a form of physical exercise. Riding a bike can be very fun. Swimming, even just horsing around in a pool where you're playing games and running, if you will, in the water, that's all exercise. So I think a lot of people get locked into the negativity. If your focus is exercise to lose weight, you will never enjoy it, and you will probably have failure along the way. But if you realize exercise is fueling your body for aging in a functional way, something we call functional fitness. So for example, let's say you travel, you go to get your luggage off the turnstile there, the baggage claim, it weighs 70 pounds, people are in your way, you're leaning
Mine does anyway.
You're leaning in an awkward position and you throw out your back. Well, Functional fitness trains your body to do the things that you do in life, like pulling that bag off, as opposed to setting a machine. So when you look at functional fitness and you look at aging, you look at, well, if I got to step into a bathtub and I got to maintain independent living, having my core strength, my balance, my memory, how the brain remembers muscle movement, that is all very important in aging and can be an absolute blast. There are lots of fun things to do that don't include the gym.
And we have so much to talk about, but something you said triggered me, to build muscle and maintain that buildup of muscle. So what happens if you're older and you're finally getting with the program? Does it take much longer to build that muscle?
Well, the body is a little different, so things may go slower, but a lot of people kind of write it off, oh, well, this is aging and I have to put up with this, and you don't. So one of my big moments before I got out of the military is I ran the Air Force Marathon. We'll call it running, but I finished at the blinding speed of 5 hours and 46 minutes. At any rate.
And that's okay, because you finished.
I finished.
You got the T-shirt.
I got the T-shirt. I was there. And I sprinted across the finish line to make it look really good. But there was a gentleman who was 75 in our group. And I remember looking at him and saying, if this is what aging is, I can do it. Mm-hmm. So, did he win? No. But he was out there. How many people at 50 even walked 26.2 miles, much less run it? And he started out in a jogging group. So to me, that's what I'm focusing on, that function and that quality of life, not whether you weigh a certain number or you wear a certain pant size or dress size. It's, are you really able to engage in your life? And are your grandkids complaining that they can't keep up with you? That's an awesome example of functional fitness.
Mm-hmm. And, I feel like I work better when I work out.
Absolutely.
Or exercise, because I'm not a big gym rat.
Right.
But when I'm out walking 2 miles a day, I just function better.
We do. First of all, our body's designed to move. We are a living, breathing organism. So, for example, if you park a car over grass, that grass dies. It needs sun. It needs water. We're the same thing. Our body needs motion and movement. We're also able to de-stress. You have blood flow to the brain. You can think clearer. When you've gotten stressed at work, instead of that turning into high blood pressure or poor sleep, when you're exercising, you're releasing that. So it gives us so much more function beyond getting stuck on weight. We get so stuck on weight, and that's the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more benefit long term.
And I love that you're not focused on that when you're working with your clients, because we all come in different shapes and sizes. And quite frankly, I think some women are more attractive with a little bit more weight on.
Right.
I am of the mindset, or my eyes see beauty with softness,
yes,
and a little bit of womanly figure,
right.
And so we get hung up on that,
yes.
But it's the healthiness and the
right.
glow you get when
right.
you do exercise, and the range of motion and the way you move your body when
right.
you know someone's healthy and their muscles work right.
Right, and not to forget, realize we have hormones in our body, and we have antioxidants, and we have free radicals that we're being exposed to all the time. When those are in balance, again, your body is functioning in a more optimal level.
What do you mean free radicals?
Okay, free radicals, they're exposures through chemical toxins, whether that is medications that you're taking, cigarette smoking, driving here in Atlanta with your window down and you're breathing in all those wonderful exhaust fumes.
Or even the air conditioning.
Right. Whatever's being piped in, the glue in the carpet, the paint that's used, pesticides that are used to keep bugs out. So in our modern day life, we're exposed to a large volume of free radicals. And free radicals are linked to every form of cancer, premature aging, sort of like even when you do buildings and restoration of old buildings, the oxygen, the toxins in the air that damage the building, well, it also happens to us. So when we have those, then we can cope with them through antioxidants. Where do we get antioxidants from? Well, from plants. And if our plant source is not adulterated, say with more chemicals such as pesticides.
Which is the problem here in America.
Right. Or grown in a soil that's depleted. You can look it up. The North America soil depletion is depleted by about 85% of the minerals that used to be in the soil before through overproduction. So then we're looking at do the best that we can, get the most volume of fruits and vegetables in. And just a quiz for you, do you know how many fruits and vegetables you're supposed to eat in one day?
5 servings.
No.
Oh, fruit and vegetables.
Fruit and vegetables. More about like 12 to 13 a day. And a serving is like a cup, not, the one piece of lettuce that was on your double bacon cheeseburger, right? So most of us aren't, even when we're trying to do good, aren't getting that volume in unless we're doing some form of juicing or we're following a vegetarian diet. So then looking at quality supplements that help us compete in our modern day life. We're not suggesting you stop taking fruits and vegetables and you just eat supplements. It's you want a high quality one that then helps you cope. There are some people that have to live on medication. I'm one. My thyroid was removed and I have to live on medication for the rest of my life. I don't have a choice about that. Every medication that you take, whether it's birth control, whether it's high blood pressure, cholesterol medication, those are chemicals going into your body that weren't there before, and your body's having to cope with them. So bringing on high quality bioavailable nutraceuticals that raise your antioxidant score doesn't guarantee you won't age and doesn't guarantee you won't have health problems.
High quality nutraceuticals.
That means a bioavailability. So, for example, a lot of supplements, and not any one company, but when you try to get everything in one pill, it isn't designed on how we absorb. The reason we have to eat 4 or 5 times a day is that we break down that nutrition and use it, and we utilize it in little form. Trying to do in one pill a day is like kind of trying to do one giant meal and not eating for 24 hours. So we need that absorption. So a lot of times when you get the large horse pill, if you will, and a hard tablet, it's not the quality that your body would absorb. And you'll notice that by the bright neon urine that might be coming. Or it may not be breaking down at all. You can take, if you have a hard tablet, put it in water and go away for 3 hours and see if it's starting to break down. If it's still this really hard tablet, it's not breaking down in your
thing in your body.
Kind of passing through the way corn does.
Okay, so now that I'm up to speed, we'll go back to this nutraceutical. So what do you recommend? Okay,
what I recommend is I've partnered with a company that really, really is cutting edge on anti-aging. So they started out, honestly, at skincare, which is fine. And I was, okay, that's great. But where I really got excited was the nutraceuticals. When they looked at healing the body from the inside and going to the level of your mitochondria and resetting those cells. They've identified 52 genes that are considered youth gene clusters, and been able to map, well, what do these look like, when we're 18? What do they look like when we're 75? And they can tell the ones that change. So you have some that express themselves more in youth and some that express themselves more in aging as a sign of aging. Well, they've been able to reset those with the antioxidants to about 92%. So you're not going to get a 70-year-old that's 18, but you could get, your 70-year-old that is functioning and looking more like a 45-year-old, that type of thing. So this is antioxidants from the inside of the body. Yes, skincare, antioxidants on the skin help, but it's kind of like painting a rusted car. It'll look good for a little bit, but that rust underneath is still there. So when you start healing the body from the inside out, then everything starts changing. Your skin responds to moisturizers differently when you have your body healing. Or if
I can always tell, even when I'm not doing well after a week of not drinking enough water.
Oh yes, water's huge.
I was recently on a vacation, and this morning I thought, oh my God, it is soaking in my moisturizer.
Right.
I have got to start drinking more water.
Right, and that's a huge part. A lot of people don't realize how important water is and how much better they feel when they've cut out sodas, not for the point of calorie. Okay, so this is not about weight. This is about, are you fueling your body with what it's designed to move? So for example, would you put a diet soda in your oil or your gas tank for your car? No, because it's not going to perform. So when we're not giving ourselves water, then we don't have the lubrication that we need for our joints, for our eyes. And a lot of people have dry mouth syndrome because of medications. That leads to dental caries. Dental caries leads to heart disease. So this is such a bigger picture than the surface iceberg of, oh, I don't look cute in my jeans anymore.
So I'm so interested in the internal fountain of youth and these youth clusters. And so let's talk a little bit more about that. So what is the regimen then? If we were to go out and get these supplements.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am. We actually have what we have is a biophotonic scanner, and you would first do an assessment to see your skin carotenoid levels.
Yes, you gave me this little pamphlet on this, and this is the scanner that was recently featured on Dr. Oz?
Yes, ma'am. Back in May of 2011, it's featured on the Dr. Oz show. He scanned his entire audience.
And it's almost, for the folks that haven't heard about this is very exciting, but it's almost like watch out, because now when you go to get help losing weight and getting healthy, they're going to be able to check and balance you. You're not going to be able to get away with saying, well, I've eaten everything. I don't know why I'm not losing weight.
So it's kind of our nutritional lie detector, if you will. We know that fruits and vegetables are good for us. We know that losing weight is good for us, but we really didn't have a way to read what was going on in our body. So this focuses on your skin levels of carotenoids or carotenoids. You'll hear it pronounced both ways, but it's the phytochemicals. These are all occurring in plants, and there's thousands and thousands of them. So this group itself is the carotenoids, and like your oranges and your reds, tomatoes and carrots and that type of thing. But they've been studied the most and seem to have the most direct effect on human health. So lowering diabetes, decreasing your risk of cancer.
The oranges and the reds have the most, because we always hear eat green.
Well, green's important. We're not suggesting green's not a part of this. Okay. And green tea is an antioxidant. So what I'm saying is what the scanner set up to test, it's testing specifically that one category. Really, there's thousands and thousands, and they're all important. Okay. So you're right. When you mentioned earlier 5 a day, that was a campaign a few years ago, kind of eat the rainbow. That's still hugely important. Go through your day and say, okay, you want to look at, first of all, how many vegetables did you get in? Volume, fruits and vegetables. Vegetables being the one you want to lean on more heavily than fruit. But then you want to look at what source and what colors. So, for example, did you get in yellows, greens, blacks, reds, orange, purples, like in the eggplant? And then, okay, let's focus on orange for a minute. Well, look at all the varieties of the color of orange. How many vegetables or fruit can you think of real quickly that are orange? Name off any.
Orange and maybe, grapefruit's more pink.
Right? You got oranges, you've got carrots, you've got cantaloupe, you got mango, you got pumpkin, Tangerine. You got sweet potato. Right. So then when you start looking not only how many colors did I have, each plant has a different chemical makeup of those phytochemicals and even vitamins, minerals, and fiber. So you don't want to ever eat in one category or a monotone kind of diet, if you will. You want to have a wide variety. And if you even do something as simple as at every meal and every time you eat, think, how can I get vegetables in? Typical Americans don't go, what vegetable do I want for breakfast? Coffee and a donut will cover it, right? For the typical American diet. But if you think about it, well, we could, if we're having eggs.
That's true. I don't have vegetables.
Right. You can do tomatoes and onions in your eggs and peppers, grilled in a little toaster oven with a half a bagel and cheese and tomato. I mean, there's lots of ways to throw, or even drinking a V8 if you're in a hurry.
And to me, there's nothing better than a scrambled egg with tomatoes and onions and pepper and a little basil. Right. Did you ever put basil in your eggs? It makes it taste so good. And realize you don't need cheese.
All those herbs have phytochemicals. Anything that came from a plant has those phytochemicals in them. So this study not only looks at reading them, then they created supplements specifically designed to raise your score. So for example, when I first came across this company, and I scored probably in the yellow, kind of like, if you'll look, there's a scale there that has the colors, and they go from red up to blue. And that middle range, so if you look at it like ABC, your blue at the end is like having an A in school. Your red at the other end is like getting an F. Okay, so I was in the yellow category, so kind of a C, not bad, passing,
right in the middle,
but
it goes red, orange, yellow, green, blue, like the rainbow,
right?
And red is the lowest and blue is the highest,
right?
Okay, so you scored smack in the middle.
I did, and now realize I'm on medications. I got diagnosed with 3 autoimmune conditions. I'm hitting perimenopause. So all of this coming in. And realize stress affects these numbers. So there's a page on there that lists about 5 or 6 things, maybe even 7, that affect your number. Your numbers can go down, yes, from your diet. They can also go down from being on medications or any chemical exposure. But they also can go down from stress, both physical and psychological. So physical stress, having an illness, a broken leg and you're healing. Psychological stress, the in-laws are moving in and my husband just left me and the business has gone under. That's psychological stress, okay? So all of this plays a role. And a lot of people, have heard for years when you're under stress that it can cause health problems, but I don't think we realize how directly it shows on your face, it shows in your energy level, it shows in your blood pressure, it shows you can't feel necessarily your blood pressure going up until it's significantly up, and you don't feel your cholesterol raising, and you don't feel your body being low in antioxidants or vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So these cover it. So the supplements that I took and I entered the blue category was their awesome G3 juice. It's a super juice, like higher antioxidants than like carrots and tomatoes. It's awesome. And you just do a 2-ounce shot in the morning and 2-ounce shot in the afternoon. Very easy to do. And then their multivitamin that includes fish oils and CoQ10. CoQ10 also helps affect the heart. So this is very important. I have my 71-year-old mother on all of these. My boyfriend, who had a bypass surgery before we started dating back in 2004, I got him on all those, and he was struggling outside one day and mowing the lawn. It was really hot, like 100 degrees, and he came in and I gave him some CoQ10, and he went back out with energy because I can't believe how much that affected. It has a direct effect. So, and my 8-year-old child is on them as well, the age appropriate ones. There's children vitamins as well.
So then just to back up a little, because I can see the pamphlet that you have here.
Right.
What are we talking in terms of numbers of supplements and how often you have to take it? And the average person, do they usually score in the yellow or maybe in the orange, a little below average?
Those are awesome questions. And I have the web link down there on the paper that I gave you to go watch the Dr. Oz show. The typical American diet will score in the red and orange. That is very typical.
Very low.
Very low.
The worst. So we're getting F's and D's in America.
Yes, and that's where the average typical American scores.
Great.
So he did, for example, he did his whole audience that day, and they all had different colored t-shirts on where they scored. The vast majority of the audience, he goes, this is typical America right here, was in the red and the orange. There's then less yellow, a couple of the greens, and then 1 or 2 people that were blue. And he, of course, scored off the chart 75,000 and was a blue. But
good thing.
Good thing. Good thing. Because what I really like,
he really is healthy. He walks the walk.
He walks the walk. He talks the walk. He won't promote any one company. And what I got excited about was the science behind the scanner. Coming from the military, and
I can tell that about you already.
Coming from a military background and then a science background, hospital, my first attitude is, yeah, right, nobody's going to score good on this thing if they're not taking this company's supplement. So I was a little jaded in my thought.
Good.
But when I get excited every time somebody scores well and they're not using those supplements, that fine, it validates the science behind it.
I want to talk so much more about this. This is very exciting because you can actually get, like you said, driving your car in and you get the diagnostic. They plug it into the computer and it tells you where you're at and what the car needs for the tune-up. We now have a mechanism to do that to help us live longer and to last longer. I do just want to shout out your info. You're at 3778 Canton Road,
right,
Suite 400 in Marietta, Georgia, and Barbie can be reached at 707-416-1021. But stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to talk much more, give you some website information, give you more contact information, and we just have so much more to get to, so stay with us. Hello, I'm Jean Pete, and I welcome you back to our show, Better Living. Better Living is brought to you by the Homestead Hope Foundation and is sponsored by Homestead Hospice, where commitment to education and premier hospice care helps patients and families through life's most important journey. Welcome back to Better Living. I'm Jean Pete, and again, I'm here with Barbie Tucker. She didn't leave us. She's here with us. And Barbie is a registered dietitian. We've been talking today about diet, exercise, medical nutrition therapy, the state-of-the-art biophotonic scanner, and just how you can tap into your own internal fountain of youth within your own body and look healthier and happier, feel healthier and happier, and actually be healthier and happier. So Barbie, why don't we just kind of recap how we ended the last half hour and talk about the importance of tapping into that, I'm terming it myself because I don't have the biochemical background that you do, internal fountain of youth.
Okay, so how do we heal our body? Healing our body and aging well includes lots of sleep. That would be one. Proper nutrition, which we talked about, and the antioxidants, and even the water that we're taking in. For example, the bottle of water there that isn't, BPA free, that's a chemical that leaches into the water. So there are so many things that we're exposed to in our modern day world that we have to combat that with antioxidants, but also with functional fitness for aging. So one of my partners that I've partnered with is Linked Athletics in Marietta, Georgia. Dr. Brendan Malloy and and
Brian Barry?
There you go, Brian Barry. He's a personal trainer, and Dr. Brendan Malloy is a chiropractor and also works at Sandy Plains Chiropractic as well. But what I really enjoyed about their workout is if you spent 40 minutes with them, it's like doing your cardio and strength training all in one and with a lot less time, because it forces you to engage your brain for the use of balance and your core. So an example would be he had me kneeling, if you will, on a little half ball, what they call a Bosu ball, so you're off balance. And I had to track a tennis ball with my hands around, following in a circle. And I managed to get my balance, and I was doing fine. And then he took the ball from me. Now I have to watch him move it around. And you could just see you're wiggling and trying to maintain that balance. So all of that is brain function and how your body functions. So the alignment of your spine, how the nerves are radiating from the spine, how the brain is remembering. For example, if you've watched little ones play t-ball for the first time, they can't even grasp swinging the bat or where to run and how to get organized. Well, as we get older, we start losing some of that muscle memory. Core is sort of your abs, if you will, your abs and your back. When you have that strength, it makes a huge difference in how you age. So let's take urinary incontinence, for example, with aging. When you have your core balance, people that started doing Pilates, for example, or yoga, they're noticing their urine retention isn't as much as a problem as it was, especially for women and after childbearing. It makes a huge difference. And no one think I'm going to the gym to help my urinary incontinence. But this is a huge quality of life issue that a lot of people don't want to talk about, that they're embarrassed about.
And women, especially because of childbirth.
Absolutely.
Especially with exercise. So then they don't work out because they don't want to deal.
Right.
And then
You're right.
They worked out, it could help them.
Right.
Who knew? Wow.
Right. So the impact exercise helps with bone density, such as running. But you're right. You can have urinary leakage, and then some people have shied away from exercising because of that. Mm-hmm. But when you're focusing on building your core, whether that's through yoga, whether that's through Pilates, or the type of training, twist conditioning training is what both Dr. Malloy and Brian have been trained in. And they can take, the most elite athlete and still challenge them and give them a really difficult workout, or they can take someone who's struggling with balance issues and bring them back to normalcy, and they're able to engage into the things in life that they really enjoy that they may have stopped doing because they were afraid of falling, for example.
So just as you're talking about some of the techniques that Dr. Malloy, is that how you say it?
Yes, Dr. Malloy.
And Brian use, what's coming to mind is what you're hearing all over the TV now, the P90X and the insanity and all of that.
Absolutely.
Is that similar to their premise for what they're doing with the mind, body, and muscle?
It is with doing them together, yes. The difference is with them is, take of something like Insanity P90X, your average 65-year-old might be a little intimidated with that. So we want to look at how do we move in a way.
Your average middle-aged woman is a little intimidated by that.
Okay, fair enough. You're right. And there are people that are, 18 and 20, especially in the United States, that are so out of shape, they couldn't. And I literally have had customers that said that. I bought the P90X and I couldn't do it, and it was intimidating, and I quit. So what I really enjoyed about going to their fitness center there and seeing what they did, Linked Athletics in Marietta, is A, it doesn't look like a gym. And B, I could have somebody next to me, let's say, who's significantly struggling with weight, or who may not have any muscle memory for how to even use equipment, not know what they're doing, and they can do the same exercise beside me because Dr. Brian or Dr. Malloy are walking around and saying, okay, we'll adjust this, or if you don't have the balance for that, we'll do it this way, or we can do it on the floor. Or I've gotten before, I'm like, well, I'm not getting the resistance that I need, and they'll add bands to stuff. So it's so individual that it doesn't feel intimidating. So kind of like if you've ever done a spinning class, like you could have people that are in great shape, but because you're stationary, nobody pulls away and you're left out there riding all by yourself. Same concept, where if you have knee problems, or you can't jump, or you can't get all the way down on the floor, they have a way to adjust it, that you're still building that balance and you're still building that core, and you're keeping your brain. This is huge for blood flow to the brain and brain memory for the muscle connection. This is huge and a helping aid for preventing things like Alzheimer's.
So is this more like an open space
It
kind of
is.
place, not with a lot of machines?
You won't see any machines.
So you're really using your body to get the results that you, much
Exactly.
like P90X.
Exactly.
And Insanity.
So you do use your body and your resistance, but the bigger part that was harder for me to get until I did it is this whole brain connection with what your body's doing. You know, I can go out for a jog or walk on a treadmill without using my brain at all. Mm-hmm. You just kind of show up. This requires you to stop and really engage your core, engage your brain, engage how you've got several muscles firing at once.
And, you know, we do target the mature audience, and I still haven't found the right term for it, but, you know, over 50.
Seasoned.
Seasoned, yes. Smart.
Savvy.
Yeah. Wonderful. But at any rate, the brain and the exercise of the brain, where I've worked in hospice and healthcare and you've worked in healthcare,
Yes.
and just how important that is. And, you know, we all know Alzheimer's now,
Yes.
or dementia, some form of dementia. And I hear stories as I travel all the time about how it's impacted people.
Yep.
And if there are set ways that we can reduce our risk for Alzheimer's, we're trying to stay healthy to live longer. But what good is living longer if your brain's going to go on you?
Absolutely. And so when we...
That's wonderful that they're
Right.
incorporating the two together.
Absolutely. And when we compare the two, you're maintaining that physical activity and you're getting a large volume of plant-based foods and the antioxidants you need. It is the best tool that you can have. My grandfather passed away for complications with Alzheimer's, but he was well into his 80s. And up until that time, he would be up at 6 a.m. He grew his own food. He was a farmer. Vegetables were a huge part when you're growing your own crop. And he lived a very long, healthy, productive life. But when we're seeing people younger and younger with cancer, younger and younger with diabetes, even with Alzheimer's, and a lot of this, the studies are showing that it's linking back to what we're doing to our body, either the good things that we're doing to it or the lack thereof.
And let's talk about that, because we have gotten away from the garden. You know, and we're not even city living, really.
Right,
We're
right.
in the South. It's
Right.
still rural. I grew up in Boston, but we gardened when I was younger.
We did
But
too.
it seems like that's going away. And now people are just going to buy organic or
Right.
what have you, but it's still not the same.
Right. So a couple things that I learned. One is organic is the growing process. Once they then cut it and take it to wherever you're bagging or putting in it, it doesn't mean necessarily everything in that environment is organic. So you could have your bleached clean table that your organic salads and things are being cut or washed on. So the preparation part doesn't necessarily mean, but the growing process is. So that is one. The other is most of us, I was raised doing it too because I followed and told what I was, we had our garden and I remember my mom canning and doing all this, but I don't know how to do it. I wouldn't know how to start. How do I keep the plant alive? I wouldn't have a clue. So a lot of us either didn't have it at all or we're so far away from it, we don't necessarily know how to do it. And then the other is the space to do it.
And so you just gave me a show for early spring next year.
Yep. And I have a person to bring on for you. Her name is Susan.
Great.
She actually has the ability to do plant towers like off of a porch.
See,
where
that's great.
you're not having to have soil, everything. So I've tried to really connect myself with people that bring this whole picture together, not just one thing. So one, it can be lack of knowledge, lack of space. The other, you could have all the knowledge and the space and not the time. Most people are two-income households. And with baseball and whatever they're doing with kids, there simply isn't the time. Or sometimes people that are retired, they're more busy than before they retired because they're doing voluntary work. Or they're working for nonprofit organizations, and there isn't the time that's needed to tend to the plants. This is why the plant tower that Susan offers is really unique.
So let's talk about that, because I'm a little overwhelmed sitting here thinking, my God, really, just living here makes it hard to be healthy. Just to get up in the morning and breathe the air I'm breathing, I'm already behind the 8 ball. And so
Stop
what
breathing.
are some don't turn the air conditioning on and sweat on the way to work. No. What are some simple, maybe like first three things that you can do? Let's try to simplify this for folks so they can take a step-by-step approach, and then we'll get them some website info and more information. And as they add things into their daily routine, they can continue to add things.
Absolutely.
Just one little step at a time.
All right. So the first one is breathe and don't try to do it all at once. You want to think, what can I do? So something as simple as each time you go to eat, asking yourself, where can I put a vegetable in? Anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're at Burger King and they had a side salad, you're at a sports bar and they might have some broccoli that you could order as a side dish. It doesn't matter. Start somewhere.
And for you sports bar tavern owners, I have to sidebar here for a minute.
Okay.
Because I really do try to get my vegetables. I love vegetables and I love fruit. But when you go to a sports bar or something called tavern, you know when you get there, your only option for greenery is broccoli.
Right.
Please, folks, offer like something in addition. I hate broccoli.
A lot of times they'll have salads, or any place that sells wings, they always have celery sticks.
Oh, celery. That's
so
a good idea.
So usually there's celery sticks, carrots, cucumbers, or some type of salad. Okay. So that's a start, that you just start putting it in anywhere. So the other is realize if you're starting to look at food as opposed to, instead of looking at, well, this is just so I don't feel hungry, or I'm only going to eat vegetables because I'm trying to lose weight, to really dial that back and say, what is the purpose of this? This is about healing my body. When you look at healing your body, healing your skin, healing your brain, or if maybe not healing, but getting it into its best functional state, then you start looking at food differently. And it doesn't mean you're going to cut out every sweet and treat that you've ever enjoyed. It's look at that overall balance. So I would liken it to, instead of getting overwhelmed, you wouldn't start with a newborn baby and say, okay, we got to get you in an Ivy League college. you start with the basics. They start recognizing shapes and they start recognizing colors. So same thing, start recognizing, oh my gosh, I haven't moved my body this entire week. I've driven in the car and I've sat. So being aware and making a deliberate point to do something. You don't have to do anything amazing. It could be, it was 6 flights up here. Taking the elevator is not exercising. Taking the stairs is exercising. So that would require, if you're a female, bringing your comfortable tennis shoes, wearing them, and putting on your cute heels once you made it up the 6 flight of stairs.
That's so funny. And not long ago, buildings weren't made with elevators. You know, I mean, well, I guess it is a while now, but you don't even think about it. I mean, how many people even probably know where the stairwell is?
Right.
I don't even know where the stairwell is in this building. It's only 6 flights.
It was by the bathroom I saw it.
Don't even think about it.
So doing something little, trying to do something physical, and then try to plan fun stuff, like vacations, for example. Instead of doing the vacations where you're going to sit all the time, say, okay, let's do a vacation where it's a bike riding vacation, or a hiking, whatever, or where you're going to jump in that kayak. I've never been in a kayak, but I'm going to try a kayak, Do these things with guides. Don't go out and do the whitewater rafting by yourself if you've never done it. But anything that gets you moving and walking a little bit more, and sort of plan deliberately for exercise, plan deliberately for festivals. If that's bringing it with you, if that's Googling restaurants before you go out to eat, Google the menu. The menus now, most places have websites and have the menu. And always ask, can I get the dressing on the side? Can I get that grilled instead of fried? It's a lot of it's, instead of accepting that it's aging, accepting that I'm just going to be fat, or accepting that, well, this place doesn't have it. You'd be surprised, and especially the smaller restaurants, what they would be willing to do for you, especially if they know you're a regular customer and you tip them well. I
get so teased, I have to tell you. I do have a boyfriend, and my friend met him, and she said, you must not have gotten out to eat with Jeannie yet. Because I can't order anything as it is on the menu. Right. I always have to ask, well, have you got, right, capers or artichoke hearts, or can I get, is there anything else besides broccoli on the menu, or can I get that without the sauce, or no salt,
but
please.
You shouldn't feel bad about it.
Season it a lot, and you have these seasons in the kitchen, but lay off the salt, but go heavy on the...
Right. But you have that right. You're the consumer. They are there to serve you. So the more of us that do that, I mean, the reasons a lot of times restaurants have dropped salads or have dropped whatever, because they're not the big sellers. And I even worked in our hospital that we had there on the base in California. We had the vegetarian burgers. We had a lot of influence of people from different reasons they were vegetarian, whether it be religious or whether it be they didn't want to harm animals. But they ended up dropping it because the length of time that it took, no one wanted to stand in line. So a lot of times it's because it comes down to money, sadly to say. And if the consumers demand more and ask for more and they're willing to pay and they're willing to, yes, we have that, but it'll take an extra 5 minutes to cook it or what have you, then it will. This comes down to supply and demand. So I think a lot of people now are listening, and a lot of people being more proactive with their doctors. And integrative medicine kind of looks at that, looking at sort of Eastern and Western medicine, looking at holistic and traditional medicine, and bringing those together. And if you'll see even the commercials for the Cancer Centers of America talk about nutrition in their advertisement. So it's not kind of all for one. There is some middle ground in there, and a lot of it has to be the consumer saying, no, I want another choice.
And, back to this whole show, it's called Better Living. And we are here to educate and inform so that we can empower people to make the right choices for them. But ultimately, you're responsible.
Yes.
You have to take responsibility and you have to be accountable. And it isn't really as bad as it all sounds. You don't have to give up wonderful tasting food. You just have to try it for a little while. And then you're so used to the fresh herbs and the fresh spices that when you get the slob of everything mixed in together, it doesn't even taste good anymore.
Absolutely. And most of us don't know what fresh herbs look like. We got those little dried up ones that have been in our cupboards for years. And when you get really good food, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that it tasted that well. I'll give you one example of a lady who I was working with for smoking cessation. And it really helped me understand where people have roadblocks. She had struggled so much. It wasn't that she lacked understanding of how smoking was unhealthy for you or the medical health problems it could cause. She says, I can't see myself as a non-smoker. She had such an image of whatever smoking meant to her, whether it was cool or non-smokers were uptight. I don't know, but her vision of what she saw in non-smoker, she didn't want to be, but it wasn't about health. So that was a little example that really took me back. A lot of times this isn't necessarily about education. It's about finding where you are and the readiness for change. And that was one of the things that I sent on the second form there there are the stages. And some people are in pre-contemplation, which is they're not even remotely ready to make any changes. And yes, they can be nagged by their wives and their doctors, and they're not ready. And then there's contemplation where they're thinking about it. They may have started buying, skim milk or something that made little changes. But this is a process that we all go through. This isn't just about health or just about weight or just about eating. It can be changing jobs. It can be starting a new career or starting school. You have to go through, well, this is terribly inconvenient and I have to change. Is it worth whatever I'm giving up to get what I want? When you start seeing what opens up, and that's why I said if you're focusing on the little tip of iceberg on how you look and how much you weigh, failure is almost guaranteed. You have to understand all that stuff underneath the iceberg before you really then the change comes from within, not from, okay, I'm going to force myself to eat broccoli.
And in the end, you're still the same you, but you're happier, you're more energetic, you're enjoying life more, and so you're attracting more positive forces to your life because you're happier with you.
Right.
And so you don't really change, but you change all the positivity around you.
Right. And so many people don't see that, when you got a 10-pound weight creep, not much changes in your life. But if 20, 30, 40, 60 pounds later, you're the person hiding behind everybody in the pictures, you're like, well, I don't want to go out because I don't have anything to wear. You don't realize how negative you've become until you start changing. When we start changing, I've heard people so many times, I didn't know that I felt this way. I didn't realize how good life could be over here. And again, yes, weight plays a role because it causes so many problems. But once people make it to that point, they realize it's so much more than just the weight. Their quality of life in everything. They're playing music now when they had quit playing, or they're painting, or they've jumped on a plane and visited friends they hadn't visited in years. That they're just engaging in life in a way that they didn't realize they were missing out on.
Well, and even more than that, and I'm speaking a little bit personally, and we kind of tease every week because I always say it's always about me. But I have such passion for this because I lost 70 pounds.
Good for you.
And it was so many of the things that we're talking about, but it's like when you do a puzzle and you complete the puzzle, that sense of accomplishment, you're like, wow, I did it. And, people don't always like to do puzzles and you don't think you're ever going to get through it. But when you're finished, You're like, hey, look at that. The
Right.
hard work paid off. I did it. And then you just take it to the next level. And if you have a career accomplishment at work and how good you feel and how you feel like you can go further at work because, hey, look, they're taking notice of my good work.
Right.
I guarantee you, everybody that's out there listening to this show right now, it's called Better Living, and I want you to live better. I'm so blessed to have this opportunity to host this show. When you conquer getting healthy, and I don't even want to call it weight loss.
Right.
Just getting healthy. You feel so good when you lose weight. All of a sudden, you're shopping in the not plus size stores and you're in the regular size stores, and then you're not in the double digit sizes, you're in the 1 digit sizes. But when you conquer that, you are so empowered. And no matter what life or anybody brings you, you conquered that, which was the hardest thing for you to conquer in your life, so nothing else can bring you down. Right. It's such, I want everybody to feel that sense of, I can do anything. And if you can get yourself healthy and lose the weight, you can do anything.
Absolutely.
I hate this because I never have enough time, especially when I get really excited about a topic, and I'm excited about this. But we only have a couple minutes left. So can you, again, give your contact information, your address? We're in lots of different markets, but Barbie has a vast amount of knowledge. And so if you're in our Phoenix market or our Gulf Coast market, call her and I'm sure she can get you connected. But if you could give your address and information for people to contact you if they're interested in any of the topics we talked about today.
Okay, and it's Barbie Tucker, 707-416-1021. My email is dietitianbarbie@gmail.com. And dietitian is spelled with 2 T's. Do not spell it with a C. You won't get me. And also the address there, if you'll read that from Linked Athletics on the back.
Yeah, Linked Athletics, we talked about that, is at 3778 Canton Road. But you can get more in Marietta. You can get more information by going to www.linkedathletics.com as well. And as always, you can reach us at any time for anyone that's been on our show at www.homesteadhopefoundation.org. I'm Jeannie Pete. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day and week ahead. And listen here, same time next week and every week. Homestead Hope Foundation is your resource for a healthy life. God bless.